I, ultimately, I professional, like a lot of YouTubers. I hit that moment where I just ran out. Today's topic is Japan's mass beauty. So, what do you think? With a mask on, I look pretty decent, right? But imagine, if I take it off, here I admit it. I'm not pretty at all.
The term mask beauty is not a compliment. It is an observation, sometimes whispered, sometimes joked about, and sometimes painfully understood. It refers to women who appear attractive while wearing a face mask, but whose appearance changes noticeably once the mask comes off. This concept did not begin as cruelty. It emerged quietly during the long years when masks became a permanent part of daily life. Trains, offices, cafes, streets, classrooms, faces were half hidden everywhere. Over time, people adjusted their expectations of beauty. The eyes became the simply disappeared. With the lower half of the face concealed, visual judgment shifted upward. Large eyes, long lashes, sharp eyeliner, and well-shaped eyebrows carried the entire burden of attractiveness. Skin texture, cheek structure, mouth shape, jawline, and even facial symmetry no longer mattered. They were erased. For many women, this created a strange form of comfort. A mask offered protection not only from viruses, but from scrutiny. Imperfections could remain private. There was no need to worry about smiles, wrinkles, uneven lips, or a weak chin. The mask became a filter that worked in real life, not on a screen. Makeup routines adapted accordingly. Foundation became optional. Lipstick lost its purpose. Blush faded into irrelevance. All effort was concentrated on the eyes and eyebrows. 5 minutes in front of a mirror could produce a polished result. The rest of the face simply did not exist in public. Over time, expectations changed. A masked face became the default. When the mask came off, reality sometimes clashed with imagination. The gap between what was assumed and what was revealed created discomfort, surprise, and occasionally disappointment. This gap is where the idea of masked beauty was born. It is not about deception in a deliberate sense. It is about how easily perception adapts when given incomplete information. When half the data is missing, the mind fills in the rest, often too generously. This chapter is not about judging individuals. It is about understanding how an everyday object quietly reshapes standards of beauty, confidence.
When you wear a mask, all this and this foundation, cheek colors, highlighter, today not here, makeup piece, and mascara up, lip, not only lip, but also I use like this item. You know what is this item? This item able to hide the wrinkle when you dark circle. But if I use this mask only, eyebrow and eyeliner is enough.
Makeup routines collapsed. Entire cosmetic industries were quietly laid off from the lower half of the face. Foundation? Optional. Blush? Decorative nostalgia. Lipstick? A hobby with no audience. All that effort, all that money, all that time spent perfecting something no one could see. The mask made a brutal executive decision. If it's covered, it's cancelled. What survived the purge were exactly two things: eyeliner and eyebrows. That's it. 2 strokes of eyeliner, 1 disciplined eyebrow shape, and suddenly you were put together. Not well groomed, not elegant, simply acceptable. In Japan, that is already a high bar. The logic was efficient, almost admirable. Why spend 30 minutes on a full face when 5 minutes around the eyes produces the same social result? The mask created the ultimate minimalist beauty philosophy. Less effort, same approval. Eye makeup became exaggerated, theatrical even. Eyeliner grew thicker. Eyebrows became sharper, darker, more intentional. Some faces looked like they were permanently prepared for a staring contest. It worked, because the eyes were now doing all the talking. The rest of the face was relieved of duty. Skincare could be skipped. Facial expressions became irrelevant. Smiling lost its visual payoff. You could be tired, bloated, aging, or completely unmotivated underneath the mask, and no one would know. Professionalism was reduced to eyebrow symmetry. This wasn't just convenience. It was liberation. A mask allowed women to show up without fully showing up, to be seen without being examined, to participate in public life while keeping half their face private. Naturally, this efficiency came with a cost. When effort is reduced long enough, it stops being a shortcut and starts becoming the standard. Full makeup began to feel excessive. Removing the mask began to feel unnecessary. And showing the entire face started to feel strangely intimate, almost inappropriate. Why reveal more when society has already agreed that less is enough? The mask didn't just simplify makeup. It quietly lowered the expectation of effort.
People were being taken seriously. In Japan, especially around Tokyo, a long-way commute home, 1.5 to 3 hours, to totally normal. 3 hours. 3 hours. That means 3 to 6 hours a day just gone. Amazing day. And it's not like the US. Well, when I use it, relax, maybe scroll your phone. No. That's why. It's panicked. Completely panicked. Honestly, this close to India than people want to admit. The only difference is people here don't climb on the top of that rank. That it. Everything else feels the same.
The daily ritual of endurance in Tokyo and its sprawling suburbs, commuting is less of a trip and more like a ritual. For many office workers, a one-way door-to-desk journey of 1.5 to 2 hours has become normal, a daily endurance test, a morning meditation in human sardine packing. Something you endure because people with jobs apparently signed invisible contracts with their souls. Getting to work is not a commute. It is a commitment. Japan had a tiny flirtation with remote work when the world temporarily lost its mind over a virus. But by 2025, a lot of companies are actively waving goodbye to work from home and ushering employees back into the office like their opening night at, a theatre that nobody wanted tickets for. Yes, in 2025, the face of productivity is a sea of suits on jam trains again. And by jammed, I don't mean mildly uncomfortable. Tokyo commuter trains have an official metric called congestion rate, which is basically code for you will absolutely be touching strangers at all points. A congestion rating above 100% means standing room only. At around 136% in the greater Tokyo area, it means shoulders pressed, elbows gently interrogating your ribcage, and zero personal space. Imagine boarding a train where the idea of breathing independently is a privilege. People shuffle, and squeeze like they're all auditioning for a futuristic dystopian ballet called the human sardine. Men and women in business attire each morning participate in this ritual as if commuting itself is somehow an authentic Japanese cultural experience. It's not culture, it's inefficiency with better trains. The word commute here is stretching the definition. It's closer to public transport participation trophy you never asked for, with housing costs astronomical near central stations. Many workers accept long rides as the cost of existence in the city. Paying less rent in the suburbs just means you pay in time, body heat and elbow bruises. And here's the kicker. Even though survey data sometimes shows telework still practiced by a portion of companies, corporate Japan mostly marches employees back to their desks. None of this work from home in pyjamas is nonsense. They want bodies in seats. Real seats, even if millions still stand on moving metal cans. So every morning and evening, millions of workers board crowded trains as if survival depends on it. In many ways it does. Social norms dictate that presence equals dedication. Physical presence equals loyalty. You don't just commute in Tokyo. You prove yourself to the unseen gods of productivity by enduring the squeeze. This is the commute in Tokyo. Half human, half sardine, and all tradition. Say okay when you're ready for chapter 4. No polite applause necessary.
Earlier I said, some people spend 3 hours one way, 6 hours round trip. But that's not even the whole story, right? What's about the time you spend getting late? I mean, well, wait. I want to show you something important. Look. This is the eyeshadow. Eyeshadow. This thing quietly is a time. If a human, no. This eyeshadow. The lowest computer in the world. Puts split time. Hair, makeup, or weight. And that's near the mask. I'm on. This thing. That's split time down.
A reasonable person might ask why we even detoured from masks and makeup into the misery of Tokyo commuting. The answer is simple and deeply unromantic. Because Japanese office workers are chronically exhausted. Physically, mentally, emotionally. Beauty did not change first. Fatigue did. When your day begins with a 1.5 to 2 hour commute, continues with a full work day, and quietly stretches into unpaid overtime, your face stops being a priority. In many industries, the real working day is not 8 hours. It is 13 to 16, once commuting, meetings, after hours communication, and implicit pressure are added in. By the time people get home, the concept of self-care feels theoretical. In that state, makeup stops being self-expression and starts feeling like unpaid labour. And here is the contradiction Japan never resolved. Many workplaces still expect women to wear makeup as a basic condition of professionalism. Not excellence, not elegance. Basic participation. But when time, energy, and sleep are systematically drained, something has to give. You cannot demand aesthetic effort from people who are running on fumes. The mask solved this quietly and efficiently. With the lower half of the face covered, women could comply without fully complying. A minimal eye-focused routine became socially sufficient. No foundation, no lipstick, no careful contouring at 6 in the morning when the train leaves whether you are ready or not. The mask did not just hide faces. It reclaimed time. Small amounts of time, yes, but multiplied across weeks and years, it mattered. Less makeup meant fewer decisions, less preparation, less mental load. It was not about vanity, it was about survival. When everything in your day is already consumed by work, saving even 10 minutes feels like winning something back.
In past few days, I've been sleeping more than 12 hours a day. And yeah, my goals finally feels better. What's the most annoying thing about living in Japan is being sick all winter, constantly. And it's not just me during winter. Half the country is basically a walking internal medicine clinic. But people still let's go to work. No time for hospital, no rest. So what happened?
And this was not only a female story. Men too benefited from the mask in ways no one bothered to celebrate. Social etiquette says you should cover your mouth when coughing or sneezing. In reality, that requires attention, coordination, and a free hand. The mask removed that requirement entirely. Cough, sneeze, breathe, exist. No hand choreography required. For anyone not determined to behave like a public menace, this was simply easier. The mask reduced effort across the board. Fewer gestures. fewer things to think about. This is the part people misunderstand. Masks were not embraced because people loved them. They were tolerated because they lowered the cost of functioning in a system that already takes too much. When you are chronically overworked, anything that simplifies daily performance becomes attractive. Beauty norms didn't collapse because people became lazy. They softened because the system made sustained effort unrealistic. In that sense, the mask was never just about health or appearance. It was an adaptive response to a work culture that quietly drains people and then acts surprised when they stop polishing themselves for it.
It's probably wondering why I'm in pajamas right now. I'm not joking. In Japan, during winter, everyone is sick all the time. Honestly, feel I could find a stay like a piece for a winter. I cannot go. That's all. What healthy? That's not know. You would understand unless you live here. Japan is basically a country where everyone has a cold, actually winter.
The perfect breeding ground for cold Japanese winters are not dramatic in the cinematic sense. No minus 40 degrees. No frozen eyelashes. No heroic survival stories. And yet somehow they manage to be relentlessly unpleasant. The cold in Japan is a damp, penetrating kind. It slips into coats, bones, offices, and poorly insulated apartments like it has a personal vendetta. The temperature may hover politely around freezing, but the humidity makes sure it feels worse than it looks. Dry air indoors, cold moisture outdoors, and heating systems that never quite commit. Comfort is always promised and rarely delivered. Now add people. Specifically, people who sneeze and cough like they're announcing their presence to the universe. There is a remarkable number of individuals who will cough openly into the air, sneeze without hesitation, and release respiratory particles with the confidence of someone who believes consequences are for other people. No hand, no elbow. Just raw enthusiasm. Winter becomes less a season and more a communal germ exchange program. Unsurprisingly, cold spread everywhere. Trains, offices, elevators, meeting rooms, cafeterias, anywhere people are packed together for long periods of time, which in Japan is almost everywhere by design. And because Japan treats remote work like a dangerous social experiment rather than a practical tool, sick people still go to work. Fever, sore throat, coughing included. Productivity must be demonstrated physically, even if it sounds like bronchitis. This creates ideal conditions for winter illness to circulate endlessly. Cold weather weakens immunity. Crowded public transport multiplies exposure. Offices recycle air like it's a limited resource. And social pressure ensures that even unwell employees show up, because resting at home is still suspiciously close to being irresponsible. In this environment, masks stopped being optional long ago. They became common sense, not as a medical statement, as a survival tactic. A mask offered warmth in cold air. It reduced throat irritation. It filtered at least some of what others enthusiastically expelled into shared space. It also provided a socially acceptable barrier between your face and the seasonal chaos around you. Winter in Japan practically begs for masks. And when you combine climate, crowd density, and anti-remote work ideology, you end up with a society where staying healthy requires constant defensive measures. People did not keep masks because they were afraid. They kept them because winter made everything worse, and the system gave them no room to slow down. In a country where you are expected to endure cold, crowds, and coughing co-workers without complaint, the mask was simply the most reasonable response available.
I'm using of winter in Japan. Yeah, probably imagine Hokkaido snow, light, hot spring, yoga. That's kind of the I was hard. A young guy say Japan is all about drinking sake, eating sashimi, then soaking in an onsen and totally relaxing. But do you really think Japanese people live accent? I'll say this very clearly. 99% of Japanese people will never experience that even once in their entire lives.
When people hear winter in Japan, their imagination immediately books a luxury vacation. Snow-covered Hokkaido landscapes, quiet onsen ryokan with open-air baths, perfectly plated kaseki dinners served by someone whispering seasonal poetry. It's all very tasteful, very cinematic, very expensive, and almost completely irrelevant to how most Japanese people actually live. The uncomfortable truth is this. The overwhelming majority of Japanese people will go their entire lives without ever experiencing that version of Japan. No snow-viewing hot springs, no ryokan weekends, no multi-course seasonal cuisine. They will commute, work, sleep, repeat, and eventually exit the system without ever touching the brochure version of their own country. That dreamy Japan is not a lifestyle. It's marketing. Real winter in Japan looks very different. It looks like poorly insulated apartments where heating feels optional. It looks like cold toilets, cold floors, and condensation on windows. It looks like convenience store dinners eaten late at night because work ran long again. It looks like trains packed so tightly that even the concept of personal discomfort gives up. Calling this a developed country lifestyle requires creative imagination and generous editing. Yes, Japan has advanced infrastructure. Yes, trains run on time. But daily life for ordinary people is harsh in quiet, unglamorous ways. Disposable income is thin. Time is scarce. Rest is rationed. Seasonal enjoyment is something other people do, preferably tourists. Winter leisure is a luxury product sold abroad, not a lived domestic reality. The idea that Japanese people spend winters soaking in onsen and savouring kaseki meals is about as accurate as assuming office workers casually vacation in 5-star resorts every weekend. Most people are busy surviving their schedules. Romantic seasonal experiences are replaced with endurance. This is why masks stayed. Not because people are obsessed with rules, not because they're terrified, but because daily life is already exhausting enough without adding cold air, illness, social expectations, and unnecessary exposure on top of it. In the fantasy Japan, winter is beautiful. In the real Japan, winter is something you get through.
Suddenly, hundreds of people on this channel are from Singapore. I'm asking you, seriously, please try to hear about other world too. Every time hit Singapore, music explodes, comment explodes, anything else, silence. Honestly, that's a disappointing. Because I'm stuck in Japan. So yeah, I'm going to keep planning this Japanese reality into content. That said, I'll still talk about Singapore. Other Malaysia too. Don't worry.